It's fantasy football draft season, and there's a batch of wide receivers in the middle rounds who have a lot of upside. We're going to talk about all those guys, but today we're doing a breakdown on Ricky Pearsall. The good, the bad, the ugly, because he's in that range of wide receivers where he could go nuclear from where he's at, or he might be treading water. But we got to take a look at his prospect profile. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day on these players. On top of that, we're looking at rankings. We're setting lineups for you. And we're helping you win the waiver wire by finding those gems. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. Do not disappoint the 16-time world champion. But Jauan Jennings might be going to IR. He's been dealing with a calf injury. He hasn't been out there. He's trying to get paid. And we're going to talk about that more later. But he's not out there. He's not stealing reps. And also, Brandon Aiyuk's not going to be back for a bit. He's going to be on the pup. And then Demarcus Robinson suspended for 3 games. Things are opening up so bad that they traded for Sky Moore. So now we're looking at Ricky Pearsall here, the second-year wide receiver. Technically, you could say this is his rookie season. He was in a slew of games last year. But if you remember, dude got shot, had to miss most of the year, came back late, had like a little ramp-up period there. And now we're getting our start to our NFL career, really, because of what happened to him. Young wide receiver, twitched up, drafted in the first round, but was an afterthought in the high school recruiting streets. One thing to note, had a 40-inch vertical. We go to Arizona State here, ranked 182nd among wide receivers in the 2019 class. We go to Arizona State. You look at the numbers, 128 yards, 86 yards receiving, 580 yards receiving, and then in 2022, 661, 965 with Florida. That's with Graham Mertz, Anthony Richardson. He also played with Jane Daniels. He played with some good quarterbacks, at least played in the NFL type good quarterbacks. A.wise, 11, 17, 10.0, 12.4, 9.2's in there in 2021. But that same weekend, command deep targets downfield. On top of that, yards per route ran solid, 2.23, 2.41. But you're looking at the market share because he played in some weird offenses. Anthony Richardson, Graham Mertz. Arizona State was up and down. You got the COVID year in there in 2020. We break out at age 21 in year 2021. And that's our final year there at Arizona State. 22.9% market share of the team's passing production. And that year they threw for 2,500 yards. Then we transfer to Florida and we break out again in 2022 with a 22.7% market share of the team's passing production. Again, only 2,900 yards through there. Anthony Richardson quarterbacking. Next year we put the stamp on things with a 31% market share with Graham Mertz at quarterback. And on top of that, less than 1,000 yards receiving. So you really look at this from a counting stat portfolio. You also look at the age. Older wide receiver coming out of college. However, we start college at age 19 instead of age 18. We got the COVID year in there. We have some weirdness there with Arizona State. We transferred to Florida. I think 2 things you can say. He broke out with 2 different collegiate programs. He's able to get ramped up and break out quickly to a new program like we saw with Florida. And there's some upside here with Ricky Pearsall when you look deeper into the numbers. Also has some breakout games to his name. South Carolina, Florida State, UCLA, Tennessee, LSU against some big schools. Doing well in the SEC. And he can make those big highlight catches. There are moments that you're scrolling Twitter while watching football, trying to keep up on all those college football games. And you'll see those highlights of Ricky Pearsall making those one-handed grabs. He made a few of them like that throughout the year at Florida. He is a big play waiting to happen. His hands are very sticky. They're very aggressive. He's aggressive at all phases of the game. After the catch, getting in and out breaks. And he's one of those players that you see get better over time. Technical nuances with the route running, in and out of breaks. This is a player that's only going to get better, or at least trying to. And he kills it. His workout metrics are solid. 4.41 40-yard dash. 72nd percentile speed score, good burst score, that's elite agility score, 6'1", 189. We get drafted in the first round. All throughout draft season, I said Ricky Pearsall was going to get drafted higher than expected. Looked good at the Senior Bowl, has good numbers when you look at the advanced analytics. This is a wide receiver that can run routes very well. That's very aggressive, very assertive. This is a very tough wide receiver class. And during that time, it was taboo to say he was going to be a second-round pick. I thought that was probably the range that it was going to be. He gets drafted 131 to the San Francisco 49ers, and he becomes a meme stock on Dynasty Fantasy Football. And he was very cheap in rookie drafts for a first-round pick, a first-round wide receiver. That being said, a lot of people harped on the age. A lot of people harped on the counting stat production. But again, when you look past the numbers, you look at the advanced analytics, you look at the breakout age, you see what he does on tape. Now you're looking at the situation. You're like, hey, we might have something here. Timetable of injuries for Ricky Pearsall, very interesting. Like, we did not get much of a ramp-up period for the 49ers last year. Pretty much that back end of the season last year was his ramp-up period. We had a little injury in training camp. We were on the pump list to start things off. Looked good once we got the training camp clips, so everything's checking out. But again, we got shot. We had a hamstring tweak, shoulder injury, hamstring injury, foot injury back in 2022 with Florida. So this guy gets banged up a little bit because he plays hard. He's aggressive when he plays the game. That's the thing about it. He's an aggressive player. But Jauan Jennings, Brandon Aiyuk's there in the offense. Jacob Cowing. You got some interesting competition here. They brought in Sky Moore. They got Demarcus Robinson from the Rams. You're looking at Jauan Jennings. Everybody wants to look at him, but he was like at around a 25% target share, racking up 7 to 8 targets per game. Only 3 wide receiver 1 weeks and 1 wide receiver 2 weeks. He's trying to get paid. 49ers are not going to pay him. He just did not do enough with his opportunity last year to warrant a cash out. Like, he can't hold him over a barrel. He didn't do enough to hold him over a barrel. Not talented enough. He's a good player. He's steady. He's good NFL terms for any team. But not with that top-end production to catch that bag. Brandon Aiyuk's on the pup. He is a productive wide receiver. Had a down year last year, but can be very productive in fantasy football. You're watching for when he comes back into the season. If you can hold him on your IR spot, if that's a possibility, or if you can pick him up right before he comes back or get him right before he comes back via trade, 2 for 1, whatever you got to do. Maybe that's something you explore so you can get a cheap wide receiver who's going to get a good amount of targets. Ricky Pearsall, though, last year, 2 wide receiver 1 weeks, 1 wide receiver 1 week after all the BS he went through. After all that, he's a tough player. He plays tough. Strong at the catch point. Very physical getting in and out of his breaks. Like, he gets out of his breaks like his feet is on fire. He gets out of his breaks like I sprayed his feet with pepper spray. That's how he gets in and out of his breaks. That's how he plays the game. That's why the Niners drafted him. Because he is an aggressive player. And Debo was aggressive with them. Brandon Aiyuk's very aggressive. They like aggressive wide receivers. And Ricky Pearsall fits that mold with what they like. He can command targets. 14% on the year, but we got a 28% game, 18% game. We can command targets, but also command air yards. We have a game with over 100, couple games in the 70s, but the ADOT, average depth of target, 1 of 26, 1 of 19, another of 19, another of 13 and 10 in the double digits. Like in college, we can get targets downfield. That's huge for fantasy football if we start racking up a 20% target share. That is something to pay attention to when you're looking at Ricky Pearsall. But like I said in the intro, we're in that range of the draft where there's a lot of upside wide receivers. And I want some of these wide receivers, if I can get 2 of them after stacking up at wide receiver before I'm getting into the zone and being good at running back still, this is where I want to do it. If I can get a Pearsall in 1 round, a Rome Odunze in another, or vice versa. Matthew Golden I did a video on him yesterday. Mecca Buka did a video on him last week. I will have a Rome Odunze video, but I think this is a money round here on Underdog, a money section in your home league drafts. These guys are going to be later in your home league drafts. They'll be spread out a little bit more depending on how your team drafts. I'm seeing it posted on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, people's draft boards. These guys will be spread out a little bit more, where you can possibly get 2 of these upside wide receivers if you want to take that gamble. It's kind of hard to get 2 upside wide receivers. You're looking at a few more after this area, like Keon Coleman. But still, this is the money round when you're looking at upside, high-ticket flyers here at the wide receiver position. One of these guys are going off. Another guy's going to be okay. One of them's going to bust hard. But again, I still want to take shots at those upside wide receivers, and the ADP is rising. Fantasy gamers are noticing this. They're putting their money down on Ricky Pearsall. They're drafting him high, almost in the 60 range of ADP, kind of like 62-ish, 63-ish. That's fine for me because the situation here is impeccable. He's shown that talent. He's twitched up, first-round wide receiver. He's in a range where there's a bunch of upside wide receivers, and I imagine gamers are just picking the one they like in that moment. You can get him stacked with Brock Purdy. There is competition still, even with all the wide receivers hurt. We all know that. We got Kittle. We got Christian McCaffrey. Those guys are going to command targets. I expect Kittle to have a blow-up season with this situation, but also the ball's got to spread around a little bit. Pearsall's tough. He's a tough player. They like him. But you love the situation. You love the talent. You love the first-round draft capital. You love what you saw at Florida. You saw that he just comes back and just comes back harder every single time. Kittle's going to own a large target share this year. He's going to be having a big role in the passing game. Christian McCaffrey, he's back. He's going to be around 20% of the targets. He's a wide receiver out there when it comes to soaking up targets. So you got a lot of targets going to the tight end and running back. Usually when that happens, the main wide receiver can get a little volatile. In this situation, with so much ambiguity at wide receiver, that could happen with Ricky Pearsall. He could still have a good year football-wise, could have a breakout year football-wise, and still be a major headache fantasy-wise. That's one thing you got to look at. Due to Kittle and CMC, if they can stay healthy, all the wide receivers coming in and out and back and forth in this offense. He also has the potential to soak up 20-ish% of the targets, if not more. Have some big moments, having a double-digit ADOT, getting good average depth of target on all his shots downfield. Brings in a couple of those every so often. He's going to have some splash games. He's already got a wide receiver 1 week to his belt. I imagine he's going to have a few of those this season. And this situation's glorious for a wide receiver like this. Going into year 2 after being a first-round pick, after getting shot and playing well. This is a wide receiver that's hard not to root for. This is a wide receiver on a team that always has those players that people are scratching their heads about. People used to scratch their head about Brandon Aiyuk when he got drafted, and then he hit, and everybody fell in love with him. Ricky Pearsall could be similar. That's the thing about that. Ricky Pearsall is a very interesting character here in drafts because you got that row, a murderer's row right there of upside wide receivers. Year 2 guys, first-round wide receivers from this year's class. All of them could go different directions, and some of them could go very high. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.